as well as one had to deal with population size and growth. But the push was, we're not going to deal with population size and growth because of the fears that existed. Much of this stuff operates on a fear level. Following the Rio meeting, in which the demographers and the environmental community did not get what they wanted, and there was less emphasis on family planning than the family planning community wanted, because there's always a belief that, you know, if your interest can be touted as the solution to problems, you will attract more resources. And so there's an ethical question that always comes up of, you need the resources, so do you want to push what most people are going to say, yeah, we're worried about the environment, so we're going to give more money to family planning. Whereas, you know, and now this is frequently said, if you're really worried about women, not too many people are going to give you a lot of money. That's not where the macro interest is. So following the Rio meeting, the foundations again became concerned, foundations and others became concerned about what would happen in Cairo at the population and development meeting. And so a number of efforts were developed here in the country to bring together environmentalists, feminists, and the traditional population community in dialogue to see if we could go into Cairo, I would put it this way, understanding who the real enemy was, as opposed to what often happens in policy debates, is that those of us who actually have a lot of things in common and some differences end up killing each other rather than focusing on having a unified strategy against those who are really against us. And I would say those meetings were quite helpful. And so we got to Cairo, and again, because of Ford and MacArthur, women's health activists were very, very strongly active on country delegations as NGOs, and worked very hard to accomplish what was called the shift in the paradigm from a demographic approach to population and to family planning success or reproductive health success to a woman-centered approach, that how many women you served was a more relevant measure of success than how many contraceptive acceptors you got, for example. That, you know, one would look that, and I think from many demographers agreed that the cream had been skimmed off the top of the bottle in terms of family planning successes based on the mere provision of contraception. Okay, that we had about gotten that latent demand to accept contraception, and now it was going to be much more difficult to add new acceptors of contraception, and it would be, even if you still had a demographic approach, not a woman-centered approach, that some of the other things that influenced women and couples in using contraception needed to be dealt with. And so out of Cairo came a much broader perspective. You know, all of the research that had been done about women's education. You know, an educated woman, 2 years of education results in X number of acceptors, women's empowerment, women's employment, that all of these things became part of the Cairo agenda. Male involvement became part of the Cairo agenda. And on the other side of the coin, so those were the carrots that came out of Cairo, or the positives. There were also sticks that came out of Cairo in the form of a rejection of target-based family planning or reproductive health programs. I mean, one of the problems in terms of the potential for coercion is when donors, whether it's the UN or developing countries or large NGOs, set specific numeric targets for acceptors of certain technology.